Now let us see North American digital multiplexing hierarchy. See the figure here. The above figure shows the American Telephone and Telegraph Company's AT&T's North American digital hierarchy for multiplexing digital signals into a single higher speed pulse stream suitable for transmission on the next higher level of the hierarchy. A special device called modem a multiplexer or demultiplexer is used to upgrade from one level in the hierarchy to the next higher level. They handle bit rate conversions in both directions and are designated as M12, M23, etc., which identifies the respective input and output digital signals as shown. An M12 modem interfaces DS1 and DS2 digital signals. Also, DS1 signals can be further multiplexed or line encoded and placed on the specially conditioned cables called TA1 lines. Digital signals are routed at central locations called digital cross connects DSX, which are convenient for making patchable interconnections and routine maintenance and troubleshooting. Each digital signal has its own digital switch. Digital line encoding, it involves converting standard logic levels to a far more suitable for telephone line transmission. Six factors must be considered: transmission voltage and DC component. Transmission voltages are levels can be categorized as being either unipolar or bipolar. Unipolar transmission involves the transmission of only a single non-zero voltage level. In bipolar transmission, two non-zero voltages are involved. Duty cycle. The duty cycle of a binary pulse can be used to categorize the type of transmission. If the binary pulse is maintained for the entire bit time, this is called non-return to zero. If the active time of the binary pulse is less than 100% of the bit time, it's called return to zero. Unipolar and bipolar transmission voltages can be combined with either RZ or NRZ in several ways to achieve a particular line encoding scheme. Alternate mark inversion scheme involves two non-zero voltage levels, but both polarities represent logic 1 and 0 volt represent logic 0. See the figure here. With NRZ encoding, a long string of either logic 1 or logic 0 produces a condition in which a receiver may lose its amplitude reference for discrimination between received ones and zeros. This condition is called DC wandering. Bandwidth requirements. The minimum bandwidth required to propagate a line encoded digital signal is determined by the highest fundamental frequency, which is in turn determined by the worst case binary sequence for UPNRZ and BPNRZ. The worst case is alternating 1 or 0 sequence, making the highest fundamental frequency one half of the bit rate FB divided by 2 with BPRZ. It occurs for successive logic 1s and 0s, making the minimum bandwidth equal to bit rate FP with BPRZ AMI. The worst case condition is 2 or more consecutive logic 1s and minimum bandwidth is one half of the bit rate. Clock and framing bit recovery. To maintain clock and framing bit resynchronization, there must be sufficient transition in the data waveform. Among all, BPRZ is the best encoding scheme for clock recovery, as a transition occurs in each position regardless of the whether the bit is a 1 or 0. Error detection with UPNRZ, BPNRZ, UPRZ and BPRZ encoding. There is no way to determine if the received data have errors. However, with BPRZ AMJ encoding, an error in any bit will cause a bipolar violation. BPV, the reception of two or more consecutive logic is with the same polarity. Therefore, BPRZ AMI has a built-in error detection mechanism. T carriers use BPRZ AMI with 3 volt and -3 volt representing the logic 1 and 0 volt representing the logic 0. Digital bypass is a popular type of line encoding that produces a strong timing component for the clock recovery and does not DC wandering. Biphase is a form of BPRZ encoding that uses one cycle of a square wave at 0 phase to represent a logic 1 and one cycle of the square wave at 180-degree phase to represent a logic 0. See the figure here. Manchester codes always have a transition at the middle of each bit period, and depending on the state of the signal may have a transition at the beginning of the period as well. In addition, assuming equal probability of ones and zeros on the average DC voltage is 0 volt and there is no DC wandering. A disadvantage of biphase is that it contains no means of error detection. Now let us see T-carrier systems. T-carriers are used for the transmission of PCM encoded time division multiplexed digital signals. Digital signals deteriorate as they propagate along a cable, and regenerative repeaters are placed at periodic intervals. It has three functional blocks: and amplifier or equalizer, a timing clock recovery circuit, the regenerator itself, the amplifier or equalizer filters and shapes the incoming digital signal and raises its power level so that the regenerator circuit can make a pulse no pulse decision. See the figure. The timing clock recovery circuit reproduces the clocking information from the received data and provides the proper timing information to the regenerator so that samples can be made at the optimum time, minimizing the chance of an error occurring. A regenerative repeater is simply a threshold detector that compares the sampled voltage received to a reference level and determines whether the bit is logic 1 or logic 0. Spacing of repeaters is designed to maintain an adequate signal to noise ratio for error-free performance. T1 carrier system. T1 carrier system were designed to combine PCM and TDM techniques for the transmission of 2464 kbps channels, with each channel capable of carrying digitally encoded voice band telephone signals or data. The transmission bit rate line speed for a T1 carrier is 1.544 Mbps. Using TDM, T1 divides this bandwidth into 24 individual DS0 channels, sampling each channel 8000 times per second. The 8 into 8000 samples per second give each of the 24 DSO channels a data rate of 64 kbps. All 24 DS0 channels combined has a data rate of 1.544 Mbps. This digital signal level is called DS1. Therefore, T1 lines are sometimes referred to as DS1 lines. Alternate mark inversion is the type of line coding used for T1 lines. Electrically, the signal transmitted on a T1 line is a bipolar return to zero signal. This simply means that each logical 1 bit is transmitted as a positive or negative pulse, after which the line voltage always returns to zero. A logical 0 bit is transmitted as a 0 voltage on the line. This format is known as AMI because each logic 1 bit pulse or mark is of opposite polarity from the previous one. See the figure here. One additional benefit of AMI bipolar format is that it permits detection of line errors. If a line problem causes a pulse to be deleted or an unintended pulse to be transmitted, to consecutive pulses with the same polarity on the line will result, called a bipolar violation (BPV). With modern T1 carriers, a technique called binary 8-0 substitution is used to ensure that sufficient transitions occur in the data to maintain clock synchronization. Here, whenever 8 consecutive zeros are encountered, one of the two special patterns is substituted for the 8 zeros, either plus minus 0 minus plus triple 0 or minus plus 0 plus minus triple 0. The plus and minus represents bipolar logic 1 conditions, and a 0 indicates a logic 0 condition. See the figures here. The 8-bit pattern substituted for the 8 consecutive 0 is one that purposely induces bipolar violation in the 4th and 7th bit positions. This code is then interrupted at the remote end of the connection. A full 1.544 Mbps T1 line contains 24 fractional T1 lines abbreviated as FT1, each with a bandwidth of 64 kbps. Some of the limitations of T1 services are they are very expensive, installation cost is also very high, and some case improper utilization of bandwidth. T2 carrier system. T2 carrier time division multiplex 9664 kbps voice or data channels into a single 6.312 mbps data signal for transmission over twisted pair copper wire up to 500 miles over a special low cap metallic cable. Higher transmission rates make clock synchronization even more critical. So an alternative method called binary 6-0 substitution is used to ensure that ample transitions occur in the data. See the figure here. Whenever 6 consecutive logic zeros occur, either 0 minus plus 0 plus minus or 0 plus minus 0 minus plus is substituted, and this code is selected to create a bipolar violation in the 2nd and the 4th bit of the substituted pattern. T3 carrier system. T3 carrier time division multiplexes 67264 kbps voice or data channels for transmission over a single 3A RDS coaxial cable. The transmission bit rate is 44.736 mbps, and coding technique used with T3 carrier is binary 3-0 substitution. T4M carrier system. T4M carriers time division multiplex 403.264 kbps voice or data channels for transmitting over a single T4M coaxial cable up to 500 miles. The transmission rate is very high, making substituting patterns impractical. They transmit scrambled unipolar NRZ digital signals. T5 carrier system. T5 carrier time division multiplex 806464 kbps voice or data channels and transmit them at 560.16 mbps over a single coaxial cable. Now let us see European time division multiplexing. In Europe, a different version of T carriers lines is used called E lines with the basic E1 system. A 125 microseconds frame is divided into 32 equal time slots. Time slot 0 is used for a frame alignment pattern and for an alarm channel. Time slot 17 is used for a common signaling channel. The signaling for all 30 voice band channels is accomplished on the common signaling channel. Consequently, 30 voice band channels are time division multiplexed into each E1 frame. Every slot has 8 bits, so the number of bits per frame is as given as shown in the figure, and the line speed can be given as 256 bits per frame into 8000 frames per second is equal to 2.408 mbps. Now let us see statistical time division multiplexing. Statistical time division multiplexing is one method for transmitting several types of data simultaneously across a single transmission cable or line. STATDM is often used for managing data being transmitted via a local area network or a wide area network. A statistical TDM multiplexer exploits the natural breaks in transmissions by dynamically allocating time slots on a demand basis. Like synchronous TDM system, a statistical mux has a finite number of low speed data input lines with one high speed multiplexed data output line. Each input line has its own digital encoder and buffer. With the statistical mux, there are n input lines and k time slots available. K is greater than n. The multiplexer scans the input buffers, collecting data until a frame is filled, at which time the frame is transmitted on the receiving end. The demultiplexer removes the data from the time slots and distributes to their appropriate output buffers. Statistical multiplexers require low data rate than synchronous multiplexer. Also they can support more users operating at the same transmission rate. See the figure here. With statistical multiplexing, control bits must be included in the frame. The following figure shows the overall frame format for a statistical TDM multiplexer. The frame includes a beginning flag and ending flag to indicate the start and end of the frame, and address a field that indicates the transmitting device, a control field, a statistical TDM subframe, and a frame check sequence field which provides error detection. The above figure shows the frame when only one data source is transmitting. The transmitting device is identified in the address field. The data field is variable, and this scheme works well in the times of light loads but inefficient for heavy loads. The above figure shows a way to improve efficiency by allowing more than one data source to be included within a single frame. Now let us see frame synchronization. With TDM systems, it is important not only that a frame has to be identified but also individual time slots within the frame be identified. There are several methods used to establish frame synchronization, including added digit, robbed digit, added channel, statistical and unique coding. Considerable amount of overhead is added to transmission to achieve frame synchronization. Added digital framing. T1 carries using D1, D2, D3 channel banks use added digit framing. A special framing digit is added to each frame. The maximum average synchronization time is given by synchronization time is equal to 2nt is equal to 2n square tb, where n is the number of bits per frame and t is the frame period of n tb and tb is the bit time. Second is robbed digit framing. Added digit framing is inefficient when a short frame is used in the case of single channel PCM systems. As an alternative, the least significant bit of every nth frame is replaced with a framing bit. This process is called robbed digit framing, and it does not interrupt transmission but instead periodically replaces information bits with forced data errors to maintain frame synchronization. Added channel framing, it is essentially same as added digit framing, except that digits are added in the groups or words instead of as individual bits. The average number of bits to acquire frame synchronization using added channel framing is n square divided by 2, that is 2 to the power of k minus 1, where n is the number of bits per frame and k is the number of bits in the synchronizing world. Statistical framing, here no robbing or adding digit is done as a signal that has a centrally peaked amplitude distribution generates a high portability of logic 1 in the second digit. The second digit of a given channel can be used for the framing bit. Unique line code framing, some property of the framing bit is different from the data bits. The framing bit is either made higher or lower in the amplitude or with a different time duration. The advantage is that synchronization is immediate and automatic. The disadvantage is additional processing requirements necessary to generate and recognize the unique bit. Now let us say frequency division multiplexing. Assignment of non-overlapping frequency ranges to each user or signal on a medium such that all signals are transmitted at the same time, each using different frequencies. FDM is used for combining many relative narrow band sources into a single wideband channel, such as in public telephone systems. Essentially, FDM is taking a given bandwidth and subdividing it into narrow segments with each segment carrying different information. FDM is an analog multiplexing scheme. See the figure here. In the above figure B, 5 signal sources are fed into multiplexer that modulates each signal onto a different frequency f1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To prevent interference, the channels are separated by guard bands, which are unused portions of the spectrum. With FDM, each user has its own modulating circuitry, a transmitter, a receiver, and a demodulator. The channel is common to all users. So since each transmitter is using a carrier of a different frequency, there is no interference unless the side bands or carriers are incorrectly assigned, and therefore overlap. AM, FM, and cable TV broadcasting are most common examples of FDM, where each station uses a different frequency band. Advantages of FDM: in FDM system, users can be added to the system by simply adding another pair of transmitter, modulator, and receiver demodulators. FDM systems support full duplex information flow, which is required by most of the applications. Noise problems for analog communication has a less effect. Disadvantages of FDM: the initial cost is high, which includes the cable between the two ends and the associated connectors for the cable. One user's problems can sometimes affect others. Each user requires a precious carrier frequency. Wavelength division multiplexing. Wavelength division multiplexing involves transmission of multiple digital signals using several wavelengths without their interfering with one another. This technology enables many optical signals to be transmitted simultaneously by a single fiber cable. It is also referred to as wave division multiplexing. WDM is accomplished by modulating injection laser diodes, which are transmitting highly concentrated light waves at different wavelengths. Therefore, WDM is coupling light at two or more discrete wavelengths into and out of an optical fiber. Each wavelength is capable of carrying vast amount of information in either analog or digital form, and the information can already be time or frequency division multiplexed. See the figure here. Advantages of WDM: enhanced capacity, as full duplex transmission is also possible with a single fiber. WDM is inherently easier to reconfigure. Usage of optimal components make it simpler, more reliable, and often less costly. Disadvantages of WDM: signals cannot be placed so close in the wavelength spectrum that they interfere with each other. The overall signal strength should be approximately the same for each wavelength, which may not be possible. Light waves carrying WDM are limited to two-point circuit or a combination of many two-point circuits that can go only where the cables goes. Dense wavelength division multiplexing is a fiber optic transmission technique that employs light wavelengths to transmit data parallel by bit or serial by character. See the figures here. Advantages: protocol and bit rate independence, increased overall capacity at much lower cost. Current fiber plant investment can be optimized by a factor of at least 32. Transparency: physical layer architecture supports both TDM and data formats such as ATM, gigabit Ethernet, etc. Scalability: utilize abundance of dark fibers in metropolitan areas and enterprise networks. Disadvantages: dispersion, chromatic dispersion, polarization mode dispersion, attenuation, intrinsic scattering, absorption, etc. Extrinsic manufacturing stress, environment, etc. Four-wave mixing, non-linear nature of refractive index of optical fiber limits channel capacity of DWDM system. See the advantages and disadvantages of multiplexing techniques in this table. Now let us see synchronous optical network SONET. The synchronous optical network is a multiplexing system similar to conventional time division multiplexing, except SONET was developed to be used with optical fibers. SONET is the name for a standard family of the interfaces for high-speed optical links. These start at 51.84 Mbps, which is referred to as synchronous transport level 1. It is comprised of 28 DC1 signals. Each DC1 signal is equivalent to a single 24-channel T1 digital carrier system. With STS1, it is possible to extract or add individual DS1 signals with completely disabling the entire frame. OC48 is the second level of SONET multiplexing. It has a transmission bit rate of 2.48 Gbps. SONET applications: high-speed backbone networks, basic architecture of BISDN, basic architecture for ATM, and high-speed optical networks for data communication. See some of the questions here.